this is Sheila with Successful Women Talk. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Today's going to be a really fun and interesting show. I am talking with Kerri Smith, and she is the founder and creator of Belly Rest, which is a belly pillow. And I found her online by this funny rap that she did. So basically what happened is she started developing this pillow for pregnant women, and she thought, you know, like anybody, that I can start a business and run with it. Well, she found out that there was a lot of red tape involved with pillows. So she didn't have the money to go and do all of the licensing required by all the different states, and we'll get into the red tape of that within the video. So she did some crowdsource funding with Indigogo. So check out a little bit of this video. It's quite funny.
I'm Kate Biggie, and here's the deal, yo. Belly Rest is my maternity pillow. You know that tag hanging off the side? It says, "Do not remove," and it's cramping my style.
Okay, so I'll link up the video in the show notes. A really fun video. It got her a lot of marketing attention. She was on several large media outlets, including Fox Business News, etc. So check out my video with Kerri, and don't forget to go to the website, www.successfulwomentalk.com, and join the community. We'll see you on the other side of the interview. Hi everyone, this is Sheila Butler with Successful Women Talk, and I'm excited today. We have guest Kerri Smith. Kerri is the founder of Belly Rest, which is a maternity pillow. She created a company around that. She also experienced some issues, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. She's created a rap video that's really fun, and we'll link up in the show notes. She's been on several media outlets, including Fox Business News. So help me in welcoming Kerri.
Hi, Sheila. Great to be here. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Oh, certainly. Thank you.
I found your story. I don't know if I saw a news clip or something about your story, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But why don't we, before we hop into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you started your business.
Okay. Well, my name's Kerri Smith. I am the founder / CEO of Belly Rest Maternity Support Pillow. And I got started in sales years ago. When I started selling knives in college, and I was just addicted to selling things. After that, my parents thought I was crazy, but it worked. I was making money and paying for books and things. And so graduated from college, got a sales job, did that for a while. And then I was at a company that just wasn't working. I have to see The Devil Wears Prada. See that one?
Yes.
That was I had the male version of her as my boss, and I can't keep track of that kind of stuff in my head. And so my husband said, "Why don't you just stay home and work on your other business?" And at the time, I had owned a local online wedding resource that I had kind of a directory, Yellow Pages of sorts for wedding related things. So I stopped the sales job, stayed home and worked on that. I live at State College, Pennsylvania, so Penn State's right down the street, and everybody comes back to get married with the whole Penn State connection. And there was nothing online that was centralized. So I sold that right before my daughter was born in 2000. I should know that she just turned 2, 2012, 10. Yeah, 2010. So I sold it right before she was born. But while I was pregnant with her, I invented Belly Rest because I wanted to sell the business so I could be home with her. But then I had this invention. I'm still able to stay home, but I invented this maternity support pillow when I was pregnant with my daughter.
Out of need, I'm guessing.
Yeah, out of discomfort. More
gotcha.
Like.
Well, I do have 2 toddlers, a 3.5-year-old and 2.5-year-old, but they're adopted. So I never went through the whole maternity thing. But from what I hear, it can be quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, I really didn't have that bad, actually. But some of the women that are using the pillow now have it so much worse, and it's helping tremendously. So I'm very glad to hear it.
Well, awesome. So you saw a gap or a need, and you created a business around that, which is so important, I think, for people to understand. It's not just create something and think people will come, but usually if you can solve a problem, you can have a business.
Exactly. And there's already maternity support pillows out there. I mean, it wasn't the first one ever on the market. There's lots, but this one is unique in that it's small, and there's 2 pillows, and you can see it on the website.
And we'll link that up as well. Okay. All right, so let me ask you this. So you created the pillow. Did you start sewing them yourself and then selling them to friends, or how did that whole process start?
I started with prototypes. So I ended up making 14 different prototypes and used 9 different pregnant friends because I had already had my baby and I haven't even gotten to try it myself yet. So I made all these prototypes and had all my friends test them and send me notes and tell me what worked and what didn't work. And I'd run them through the washing machine and see how they held up. And so when I hit the 14th one, I had the right combination of materials and it all worked. So I was starting to sew them myself until I hit some of these red tape issues that you heard about.
Well, let's talk about that. So, and I love that. So you did some real true market research on pregnant women. They liked the pillow. You refined it and finally said, okay, I have something. I have a product. I'm going to start a business. But then you ran into some issues. And why don't you, in some red tape. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I thought I was just going to have a pillow business and it would be easy. And so I invented this pillow and I found out that I would need a pillow tag. You know, the one that is on your pillow at night that you sleep with. And I thought, okay, so I did some research and found out that I live in Pennsylvania. I have to have a pillow tag in my pillow. So I registered with the state of Pennsylvania and I was doing a little more research and found out that I not only have to register in the state of Pennsylvania, but all 13 states plus the city of Detroit that require a pillow tag on the pillow. And then there's another 28 states total that require, 22 states don't care. 28 states total require the tag. 13 of those 28 make me pay to be able to sell a pillow in their state.
Now, the funny thing about that is I believe in governmental regulation. I'm not saying that I don't. But I believe they need to regulate themselves. A lot of times they put all of these practices into place and no one polices that, and therefore there's no continuity. For instance, and you can talk a little bit more about this, it's not one state, or it's not every state does one thing. The states can pick and choose how they want, or the city can pick and choose. So they could penalize you and fee you to death. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's. I was looking at my license that I got from Pennsylvania. I didn't read it real thoroughly at first. I'm like, all right, I got my license. And I went back and read it just a couple weeks ago. And I've got it up here. So I've been granted license privileges according to Section 8 of the Pennsylvania Bedding and Upholstery Act number 249, May 27th, 1937, as amended. Like, 1937? Really? Is that really relevant right now? And I'm with you. I don't have a problem with regulation per se. And I'm all for consumer protection. A lot of people think, oh, you're anti-consumer protection. And no, I like to know what's in my food and what I'm sleeping on, what my clothes are made of. But it's just so over the top because it ranges, like Oklahoma charges $5 per year, which I think $5 is no big deal. But North Carolina is $720 per year. It ends up being just over $3,000 the first year and about $2,500 every year, just to be allowed to sell a pillow in those states.
So in general, what's it going to cost you or a pillow manufacturer to sell pillows in the United States? If you're going to sell, for instance, online where you could potentially sell anywhere, what's it going to cost you a year?
With $3,000 for the manufacturer, roughly. And then after I launched my Indigogo campaign, I found out about another layer of red tape that I didn't even know about. That's another $1,000 per year for a distributor license. So there's to make the pillow that's sold in the state, and then there's selling the pillow that's sold in the state, which has just been. And then I pay another company another $1,000 a year to manage everything for me because the fees are it's so confusing, and they renew. Some are in January, some are in April, some are every 2 years, some are every 3 years, and it's just. It's the administrative nightmare. It just isn't worth even trying to do it myself.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do want everybody to understand that we are not saying that we don't like regulations. Love regulations. Same thing when they threw all of these lead regulations in there. I do think it's important, but no one polices our government, really, to make sure that when they put these practices in place, that they're not really hurting people. Because we're talking small businesses that are following all of the steps. I mean, when I started my children's line, I had to have all of my tins and all of my T-shirts and everything tested to make sure there weren't leads and other things in there, and I did that. Now, they've since changed the laws, and I do think we need to do that because I think we get, they do all these scare stories about lead in toys, which is true. But once you put those practices in place, I think that people need to realize that there's a lot of red tape that doesn't need to be there, and this is one of those. Or let's put it across the board that you are going to pay a yearly fee to say, I follow all of these guidelines, but it's not varied by state and city and etc.
Yeah, well, that's something I've struggled with too, because I really don't see it as a federal government thing, which is another political conversation. But I mean, I want states to maintain their rights, and it's a states' rights thing. But I want to see every state kind of step back and look at it and say, 1937, really? Do we need this law anymore? I think that especially with the internet, I mean, there's so much accountability now. I mean, if I put something horrible on a pillow, somebody'd figure it out and I'd be busted. But there's very little testing, and that's starting to change now. They're starting to do more policing of the bedding and pillow industry, but it's minimal. So I'm just paying these fees to states for I'm not really sure what.
And unfortunately, usually one bad apple makes it challenging for all of us that are trying everything we can to build a business, put great products out there, and do the right things, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about the fun little thing that you did. So when you found out that you had this issue, you had like a cash problem now at this point, because you've got to create the pillows, pay for all of this licensing. So what did you do?
Well, I was ready to go. I had a barcode. I was ready to ship pillows to Amazon. And that's when I found out about this, everything just came to a screeching halt. And so I did some thinking, talked to my husband, and cried quite a bit because I was just so disappointed, because I was ready to start my business. And then, so I was going to bed that night, and it dropped in my head. I'm a musician too, and a songwriter. And I got this melody line for a rap. And I was like, okay. And I normally don't write rap. I'm more of a folk Sunday morning acoustic.
You don't look like a rapper, but
you've seen the video.
I've seen the video. You did really good.
Thanks. And then it popped into my head too to do a crowdfunding campaign. And I've done a lot of research as a musician from the musician side of crowdfunding. That you just can't put a crowdfunding campaign up there and hope that you have to have a really creative spin on it to get, if you want more than just your friends and family to contribute money. And I needed a lot of money, so I needed more attention from it. And so I wrote a rap called "Do Not Remove Under Penalty of Law," all about the pillow tags and how you think you can't cut them off, but actually you can if you're the consumer. And I addressed the red tape regulations side of things in the rap and used that as my main marketing tool in the campaign.
And how did it work?
It was awesome. I first started pushing it out toward mom blogs. Well, I put it on Facebook, and all my friends from college and high school thought it was hilarious. And it was me and two other pregnant friends and 3 other friends from church that are just all about helping me do ridiculous things. Actually, with my other business, I had done another promotional stunt with 100 women in wedding dresses wearing eye black and carrying footballs at a tailgate and as a promotional bride blitz. So they know that I'm all about doing silly promotional things. And so they helped. So it was all over Facebook. And then I started pushing it out to mom blogs, which was awesome. They were really excited because they can identify with a lot of them with pregnancy and being uncomfortable. And then I knew there was more of a political side to it, too, with the red tape side. So I started pushing it out to more conservative political blogs, and theblaze.com picked it up. Well, actually, I bugged the editor several times and said, you need to watch the video. Just watch the video. And then he emailed me back and said, oh, my goodness, I saw the video. I'll get a reporter in touch with you right away. And so it was on theblaze.com, and then Fox and Friends Weekend saw it, and they had me out to be live on their show. And then the booker from Neil Cavuto's show on Fox Business saw it, and they had me out the next weekend. And I'm still catching up on orders from.
That's terrific. So it did help you. I mean, I know you said it's kind of funny, odd things that you do, but marketing is important. And I think that you've also shown a fun side of yourself. With people want to do business with people.
Yeah.
And you seem like a fun person that I would like to do business with. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I told my husband months before this even happened, because I was concerned about having. I mean, a pillow business doesn't sound real exciting off the bat. Sexy. Yay, pillow business! But I told him, like, I'm really worried I'm going to be bored doing a pillow business, and he's like, oh, because he's a software engineer, so let's just he doesn't mind boring all the time. And like, I need to do exciting, big promotional, silly things. And so I was thrilled when this, I mean, I was disappointed I had to do this, but when I got to write a rap about pillow tags, that worked.
I love it. And the video is great. And so it got you a lot of attention. What do you think now can happen or will happen with any of the regulations? Is there any way that things can change? What do we do as consumers, and what do we do as entrepreneurs and business owners? Is there anything that we can do to change any of that?
Well, I think as consumers, we don't realize how much red tape is in everything that we buy.
Great point.
There's so many layers of, I mean, I know my parents are in Michigan, and just the taxes on gasoline in Michigan, I mean, they've been over $4 a gallon for a week or two now, and it's different counties in Michigan that charge these taxes on gasoline, and so people order something that's shipped UPS in Michigan, they're going to be paying a little bit more. UPS has to pay more to ship because their gas is more expensive, and so it's all these different layers of tape everywhere that we don't see it. This is more an overt thing that I didn't know anything about it. I just go to Target and buy a pillow and sleep at night and didn't really think about it. We'd spend more money.
Terrific point. I agree, because I don't think the consumers really do understand. And I think that they go, oh, it's a company they own. They're making tons of money, and they don't realize the cost it takes to get a product to market.
Right.
And I understand that, but it's the difference in paying a Walmart price versus a higher boutique price. There's a reason those prices are different, right? It does take a certain amount of money to get a product to market.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you, where do you see your company going now? What do you see for Belly Rest?
Well, now I'm catching up on all these orders and I'm learning about the whole manufacturing process and supply chain management, and it's been a slow crash course. I mean, it's just not, everything's slow. I want it to go so much because pregnant women don't want to wait. And I'm getting orders, and they say 4 to 6 weeks, really, I'm pregnant now.
Yeah, really.
Right
I have the pain now.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you currently making all the product, or do you outsource that manufacturing?
I've outsourced most of the manufacturing, and the eventual goal is to have my manufacturer do 100% of that. But I can only, because of these red tape states, I can only sell my pillow in 22 states. So I couldn't sell you one in Texas. If you emailed me and said, I want to order a pillow, I'd say you have to wait 4 to 6 weeks. But if you were in Maryland, I could send you a pillow tomorrow when I get it made.
Okay, so let me ask you about that, because the ones that are coming from your other manufacturer, you have to wait 4 to 6 weeks on that, and you could sell that in Texas, or you could not?
Could, yeah, because the manufacturer I'm using, the money that I raised through my Indiegogo campaign paid for all those pillow tag registration fees. So I gave them the money and that was actually, I found out about that halfway through my campaign. It's not actually the responsibility of the seller. I mean, I'm the distributor actually. It's the responsibility of the manufacturer to pay for all those fees. But it was halfway through my campaign, I already raised half my money, and then it would make my whole rap a lie that I didn't need the money myself. And so I thought, what do I? So I talked to my pastor, who is just an unbelievable business person who's just very successful. And he said, just give the money to your manufacturer. And I said, oh, well, I don't go.
Well, you're still paying for it's still a fee that you're paying. Yeah.
Because I could have gone to any other manufacturer in the U.S. or overseas really that already had paid for those fees, but my manufacturer wasn't making pillows. I already had a kind of a verbal contract that I was going to use them, and they understood the law the same way that I did. So I gave all the money for the registration fees to them to pay for the fees, and then we're working out kind of a payback thing on that for the next year or two. I don't think I answered your question.
No, I think it was good. I was just curious as to, if you're manufacturing, and you said you're kind of doing a little bit of both right now, but eventually you're going to kind of switch over and let someone manufacture.
Yeah, so right now I'm making the ones I'm legally allowed. I can make the ones that go to states that don't have the pillow tag laws. So
let me ask you this. When you first started Belly Rest, did you ever plan on using a manufacturer? Did you think it was just something you could do yourself and keep pace with? Or, where were your thoughts at that when developing your business?
Yeah, I did plan on using a manufacturer pretty early. And I didn't even know how to sew before. My mom's an amazing quilter, and so she was real excited. I finally wanted to learn how to sew, and so I learned it because my first prototype was safety pins and hot glue, and it was painful one night when it popped open. And my goal was to be using a manufacturer, but I didn't realize how tricky it would be.
And finding a manufacturer is also challenging, and one that you can trust.
Right.
Well, awesome. Well, this is an amazing story. I love that you've not been afraid to put yourself out there. I love that you've made kind of belly pillows fun. That's neat. And I love that you admitted you weren't a sewer, but this is a business you wanted, and you went after your dream. I love that.
Thanks.
Well, if someone wanted to hook up with you, where would be the best place?
Probably my website. It's www.bellyrest.com.
Terrific. Is there anything, like if someone was in your shoes, if someone would have told you a year ago how challenging it was, what would you tell that you then? I mean, what advice would you give someone thinking about starting a business?
Boy, if I'd have known all this a year ago, I probably would have gone to the second or third invention down. I've got a list going of what to try next after this goes. But I'm glad I didn't know. I'm really glad that I found out so late in the game, because I had so many pregnant women. I said this on a couple of news spots, but I had so many pregnant women that were behind me and using it, and I had testimonials, and they wanted other women to experience this. So I would encourage people, if you've got an idea, you have to go. Somebody else is going to come up with it eventually if you don't do it, and then
you may as well try.
Yeah, and you'll be watching the ad scene on TV, like, oh, I
could have done that.
Yeah, exactly. And you could have, but so I don't want to, I got tired of being that person and seeing ideas that I just let slip away.
Who better than yourself, right?
Exactly.
Who better than yourself just to do it? Awesome. Kerri, this has been terrific. I appreciate your time. We will link everything up in the show notes, and thank you again, and good luck with your company.
Great. Thank you, Shelia. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's our show, and thanks again for tuning in. Hey, I have a huge favor. I'd like for you to join us over at www.successfulwomentalk.com. Join our email list, and on that list, you'll be a VIP. You'll be receiving all of our newest updates, newest interviews, our newsletter, and any tips and tricks we have for organizing your business and getting raving fans and customers that actually just sing your praises. So again, thanks again for tuning in. Check us out next week for another episode of SuccessfulWomenTalk.com. Thanks, guys.